Immigration and Customs Enforcement is doing away with bond hearings for millions of immigrants who have entered the country illegally. The new policy, laid out in a memo from ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons, removes immigrants' eligibility for a bond hearing and directs federal agents to keep immigrants detained for the entirety of the deportation process. That's a huge change for detainees, as immigrants have generally been allowed to request a bond hearing before an immigration judge in the past. According to the memo, there's some wiggle room for detainees to be released on parole instead of bond, but the memo seems to be changing based on who's making those decisions. In court documents reviewed by the Washington Post, Lyons wrote, quote, "In rare exceptions, immigrants may be released on parole, but that decision will be up to an immigration officer, not a judge."
Meanwhile, Republicans are sounding the alarm about the growing violence against ICE agents as Trump's mass deportation roundup continues. The Trump Rapid Response Team posted on X that ICE agents are seeing a 700% increase in violence and point to Democratic Party rhetoric as the cause. Now, that thread included several clips of Democratic lawmakers likening ICE to the Gestapo and other secret police. Take a listen.
Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons.
We don't live in a country, an authoritarian country, where we have secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. That's the stuff of authoritarian states.
Those nondescript thugs who grabbed that student, that graduated student, it does look like a Gestapo operation. It does look like the Gestapo.
In full response, Vice President J.D. Vance called Democrats, quote, disgraceful, and conservative ex-influencer Matt Van Swall said in part, quote, "It's no wonder insane leftists take Democrats seriously and start trying to hurt ICE."
Look, there is obviously a legitimacy to removing some illegal immigrants from this country. We talk about this a lot. Which illegal immigrants are going to be prioritized is a policy question that is being debated within the Trump administration, within the media, etc. I guess I don't have strong feelings necessarily about the bail bonds hearings without learning more about it. I like the idea of people, if you're accused of a crime, but before you're convicted of a crime, you should be free if possible. Now maybe if you're a repeat offender or there's really compelling evidence or security footage of you doing something violent, then we want to hold you and not parole you. But generally speaking, you should be out until you are convicted of a crime. Now, a deportation hearing is different because they're not being charged with crimes. They're being removed from the country because they don't have the same, they would have the same legal rights against prosecution. They don't have the legal right to remain in the country. It's not a criminal proceeding. It's a different thing. So the government may very well have the right to say, well, here are the standards for this kind of thing. We're going to hold you until we're ready to. We're not adjudicating your guilt or innocence. We are holding you until we're ready to get you out of the country, because that's what we're doing.
Part of the problem is, I think, coming from all of the Trump administration, is that most illegal immigrants, as they call them, are criminals. And I think that absolutely, unequivocally is not the case. And I think that now there is this idea that people should be indefinitely held in these detention centers, which we've seen time and time again. There's been reports of humanitarian crisis right here on our own soil, where people are mistreated, not having access to the appropriate food and water, just completely uncomfortable and vile situations where we're not following our due process. Whether somebody came here legally or not, we have an organized process that will, protect people and get them to the right solution, whether it is deportation or whatever the outcome is. And I think by creating this endless loop where people will be sitting there, it's going to create problems and going to create an uncomfortable environment for our country, because a lot of people did agree. I'm the first one to tell you that President Biden was mishandling immigration. A lot of people do agree that President Trump has done a job, good or not, on bringing down immigration. But a lot of people don't agree with the way that he's doing it. And I think when we saw Los Angeles and the fact that Trump kind of skipped over local leadership, which is never something that presidents generally do. They talk to mayors, they talk to governors before they go places like New Orleans that called for federal help in situations of rioting and things like that. This is something where he skips over steps and then does things that the American public wholly doesn't agree with, because we're taking everyday people that are just trying to make a living in America and treating them like the same criminals that all Americans agree, if they are migrants coming here committing criminal acts, should go.
Right. Most Americans want, certainly an overwhelming majority want the criminals to go. There are a lot of Americans who want everybody to go if they're here illegally, and would say, for instance, to the idea of, whoa, detaining them indefinitely, that sounds bad, but many Americans would say, well, if you don't like the idea of being indefinitely detained, don't enter the country illegally, and that being a possibility for you, many people think might serve as a disincentive, will disincentivize you to enter the country illegally if you're going to be held indefinitely in a detention facility once apprehended, and you will be apprehended, that might serve as a deterrent to people coming into the country illegally.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
think
that's
it is,
what some people on the right are thinking by doing changes like this.
and that's a little
This
bit
is the
oversimplifying,
fate that
right?
awaits you.
Because
Don't do it.
People are deciding between, for some people, some migrants, life or death. And so that's why they're fleeing and seeking asylum. And the process perhaps was taking too long for them to, or it was just a choice. Like, do I want to live or die? I'm going to just try my luck. Because it's not like people are like coming over here in a comfortable boat with some blankets and like a nice trip. Like, people are going through treacherous experiences just to try to make it to America. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people are.
A lot of people are just
A lot of
overstaying their
migrants.
visas.
Right, there's that too. But I mean, if we're talking about the border crossing, people putting their lives on the line, obviously they're fleeing something pretty dramatic. I mean, that's pretty obvious from the commitment to do it. And it's definitely not the right thing.
I think a lot of them they're seeking the greater economic opportunities that exist in the U.S., which is a credit to our great and wonderful nation. And again, I say this a lot, probably people get sick of hearing it. I want immigrants who want to participate in the greatness of our country, the building up of our economy, who want to work, who want to help build things. We need immigrants for that. I don't.
And those same people that are helping build these major businesses that we all support often and use often for our luxury and leisure are the same people that we're treating like criminals by putting them in detention centers that are not up to par or up to standards even of our worst jails. So that's what I mean. We have to think about, consider where we're keeping people in a detention center endlessly.
Alligator Alcatraz.
I mean, like endlessly. People can't just sit there during their legal fight. That's actually not how we do the law here, right? For the most part.
I don't like the on that topic specifically. I don't love there's a lot of merchandise being peddled having to do with Alligator Alcatraz, and I'm like, it just makes me uncomfortable that it's just some kind of grift or about selling T-shirts and hats is kind of. Is that all MAGA is? I don't want it to be that way. It's
wow, criticizing.
Just makes me. Yeah, I can criticize it. I don't know.
I don't want to sold
something. I don't like it.
I totally understand. I'm on the same page as you right there. So, I think that this is just
starts to seem like a fandom, like a team you root for. Is MAGA's just no? It should be it's a set of policy ideas that we want to make the country better, not just like, oh yeah, my team won. I don't know. It's something that rubs me the wrong way.
Well, it seems like there's starting to be a break within MAGA. We're seeing that over Epstein. We're seeing that with you right now. I think there's a lot of little breaks.
Well, it's a lot easier to be out of power, I say, as someone who agrees with aspects of MAGA, aspects of Trump, certainly not all of it. It's much easier for the faction I'm associated with to be totally out of power, because then I can just criticize everything the government does.
Yeah.
With the faction I'm, again, associated with, even though there's plenty I disagree with it, in power, then I have to be like, well, I like this, I don't like that. People get confused. Like, why aren't you rooting for the home team? Well, because I think for myself, that's why.
I think that's a good point, because I think the part of the disconnect that Americans most are uncomfortable with is this blind lockstep with politicians. Mm-hmm. Like, politicians are human beings who are flawed. And so there has to be some nuance in your decision making to say,
they're flawed.
Hey,
I don't know if they're human beings.
They're not human beings. They're aliens. But like, hey, if you've been a fiscal conservative your whole life, for these senators to not say anything about, raising the debt limit would be absurd. So the fact that people do speak out about stuff that doesn't particularly align, even though the grand scheme is the same end game, is important. I think when you're in media, when you're on TV, whatever, is to say, hey, I still agree with you for the most part, but here are the things that don't work. So next up, Joe Rogan ambushes Governor Gavin Newsom. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back.